My young love said to me, my mother won't mind, and my father won't spite you for your lack of...
Do you want to see something terrible? It's not a dead dog. I'm not going to show you a dead dog. This class of boat is called a lancha, and on the upper deck they carry passengers, on the lower deck they carry cargo. About 4 days ago in the afternoon there was a terrible storm that hit, and it was a very scary tropical storm. Nature scares the shit out of me sometimes. I mean, it was the kind, it whipped up the kind of wind that can take the roof off a house. I mean, it was an ordeal, but it was an ordeal for this lancha because they hadn't unloaded the cargo, and some of the cargo was bags of cement, and there was a lot of other perishable goods. There's some goods they were able to recover. They had bricks in there, they had the fizzy drinks, but yeah, a disaster. The other thing is at the back of the boat are twin diesel engines, big diesel engines. They might be able to recover those, but I mean this disaster is going to cost at least $500,000 sol. A lot of money here, and the chances are it wasn't insured. Might have been insured, but probably wasn't. Other thing at the moment as well is the river's rising, so that they're not going to get that boat back. I've never seen a crane here. I mean, they would need a crane to recover the boat, but never even seen a crane here, so it's just going to get left abandoned there. I think it'll become a feature of the port. But when the river's risen fully, it'll cover that boat entirely. The river's going to rise about another 15 meters. These are the taxis they use here, all up and down the Amazon. They're kind of motorized rickshaws, motorbikes with two wheels at the back, and ironically they call them motor cars. They've got a seat at the back that's wide enough to take 3 passengers, and then there's a luggage rack behind that. They've got one drive wheel on the left hand side here. It's chain driven, and they usually have a 125 or a 150cc engine, which isn't very powerful, but as flimsy as these things look, they really do take some serious abuse. I've seen them carrying 10 passengers. That's 3 adults on the seat, each one with a kid on the knee, and then 2 adults sat on the back on the luggage rack, each with a kid on their knee. 10 passengers. They load them up with all manner of cargo, including planks, sacks of cement, sacks of rice, bags of sand. It's incredible what they put on these things, and when they drive on the dirt roads, if it's been sunny, the dirt's all gone hard, and they've got ridges and ruts that they drive up and down. And even worse, when it's been raining heavy, then they drive through thick mud. And yeah, it's impressive how much abuse these things will take without giving up. Yeah, I remember when I first arrived here, I was on my own. It was early afternoon. I had 2 small suitcases with me and a backpack. And yeah, maybe I should have felt depressed or distressed. I don't know, but I didn't. I mean, I felt completely calm inside. I knew I was on the right path. I knew I had arrived home. There were only 2 things that concerned me. One of them was that the locals might not take too kindly to white people. And I was kind of conscious of what the conquistadors had done 500 years earlier in the Amazon. I thought there may still be some animosity like that, but no, that all worked out okay. I didn't have any problems. The people were extremely friendly. And the other thing is, I checked into a hostel. I booked a private room in a hostel, and I was lying on my bed at night, and it just suddenly occurred to me that nobody knew I was there. If I was to die in my sleep there, nobody would know where I was. So yeah, that was a little bit of a concern of mine, just for a short time. But in that evening, I went for a walk and found out that the people were extremely friendly and polite, and there was a very strong sense of community there. I went to the plaza, and the plaza was very busy. A lot of people there. You had the young women walking around, all dressed up and with the makeup on and that to try and attract the boys. There were tables laid out serving food at the roadside. A lot of families there walking about. One of the funniest memories I have is seeing a motorbike drive along. Now, there were street lights in the town, but this motorbike didn't have any lights on it, and it was carrying 4 people. It had the man driving it, it had his wife on the back, they had a small child sat on the gas tank at the front, and then between them they had another child sat. And none of them were wearing a helmet. No lights on the bike, no helmet, 4 of them driving it, and I just thought they would be locked up and to throw away their key if that happened in England. But that's the way things were here. They've tightened up a little bit now. The police have got a little bit more strict with the laws, but it's still a fairly chilled place. It's not anything like life has become in the UK, for example. Yeah, another strange thing here is they have 2 surnames. I think that might apply across the whole of South America. I don't mean like a double-barreled and a kind of hyphenated surname like we sometimes have in the West. I mean everybody has 2 surnames. The first surname comes from the father, the second surname comes from the mother. They don't have to be married. Of course, the mother and the father have 2 surnames. They have, if you think of the first one as the paternal surname and the second one as the maternal surname, what a newborn baby takes is the paternal surname of the father and the paternal surname of the mother. So the maternal surnames, they drop off. And if a woman marries a man, then she loses her maternal surname. The paternal surname is shifted into second place, and then she takes the paternal surname of her new husband. That's kind of how it works. And they kind of look at me in awe and wonder when I say I've only got 1 surname. How the hell do you tell yourselves apart? And I say, whoa, no, you don't get it, do you? Everywhere else in the world has 1 surname. It's South America that's different. We have 1 surname in the UK, in America, in Canada, in France, in Germany, in Spain, in Australia, in South Africa, in New Zealand. Everywhere else has 1 surname. It's only here that has 2, and they just don't get it. Just out of interest, I'll tell you one other misconception as well. In the West, we think we take the surname of our father, but we don't. We always take the surname of our mother. Now, the fact that we have our father's surname is because our mother married our father, and she took his surname. That's why we end up with the father's surname. But if the mother and father are not married, a child will take the mother's surname. And something else that's very different about the culture here is that the kind of feminist revolution never hit this place. And women still very much have their own role, and the men have their own role. The women look after the house, they look after the children, they do the cooking, they wash the clothes and all that kind of stuff. And the men go out to work. That's the way it works. It's funny and maybe a little controversial. That in the West, the feminist revolution kicked off in the 1950s in the United States, and it was actually funded by the Rockefellers. They funded the whole campaign to persuade women that they didn't have equality with men. They came up with the idea that the woman was a slave in the home, she was chained to the kitchen sink and so on and so forth, and wouldn't it be nice if women were able to get out of the home and enjoy the freedoms that the men enjoyed. Now, it's difficult nowadays, since this all happened in the 1950s, so this was like 70 years ago. It's difficult for anyone to really get a grip of how life was in the 60s. The truth of the matter was that it was the men that were the slaves. The men that were working under contract. They were told what time they had to be at work. They were told what they had to wear, when they could take a break. If they wanted to take a vacation, they had to ask permission for it, and so on and so forth. It was the men who were slaves to the contract. Whereas the women did really have the freedom. Whereas a man would have to work, let's say, an 8-hour day, women rarely had to work 8 hours working in the home, and they had direct contact with their children, and they were able to go out to the park, go out and visit friends for a coffee, and they had the freedom. It was the women that had the freedom living like that. What happened with the Rothschilds, the first thing that happened with the Rothschilds is they realized that they were only taxing half the population. You only paid income tax if you earned an income. So they wanted to start taxing women, but even more controversially than that is education, you see. If women went out to work when the children were still young, they would have to put their children into kindergarten or a sort of a primary school, and then the state dictated what the children were taught, and it kind of thinned the bond between the child and the parent. And a bond between a child and a parent, especially a mother, is extremely strong, and the family unit is extremely strong and very difficult to control. The family will stick together. Like in the old program, for those old enough to remember, there was an old program called The Waltons, and the entire family lived in one enormous wooden house. Yeah, they were a solid unit. But to break down the family, which has been a goal of the people in power, they wanted to break down the family. This was another big advantage of persuading women that they should get out and work and enjoy a life of fun and frivolity like their husbands did. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not being a male chauvinist pig here and saying that women should be in the home. I believe in freedom. I believe that women should be allowed to do whatever they choose, and if they want to work, they should be able to work. And if they and for any job that they're doing, they should get paid the same as a man would do for the same job. That is the way the world should be. People should have the freedom to do anything they want. But one funny little anecdote before I go is years ago, not long after I came here, I got friendly with a family, and most of this family were women. And I was explaining to them the best I could in my pidgin Spanish at the time that when my children were young, I used to help my wife when they were babies. I used to feed the children, I used to bathe them and dress them, put them to bed, and read them a story. And they said I was gay.